Here we have a case of possible media censorship. Now, so let me put this in context here. Now, on Wednesday, there was an Al Jazeera reporter that was talking to Ali Velshi of MSNBC. Now, Ali Velshi is not a bad person. I don't put him at fault for anything, and he does fairly good reporting. So let's put that context in there before I get into this. Now, Velshi had an Al Jazeera reporter, as I said, named Shihab Rattansi, hopefully I said his name right, on to cover Hurricane Harvey. Now, during this, Rattansi started talking about climate change and how it played a role into Hurricane Harvey. So let's take a look at that.
It's pretty clear something has gone wrong here with the forecasting and with the preparation. Clearly the roads are now waterlogged. We understand 500 roads just in the southeast region are flooded. Actually, let me put this in context. I know you were talking to someone in Port Arthur a moment ago. We're in what's called the Golden Triangle in the southeast. So we have orange is one point of that triangle to the north. We're in Beaumont, and then we have Port Arthur to the south. Now, you know, it's interesting. The reason why it's called the Golden Triangle is because this is the first place in the United States where they discovered large quantities of oil in 1901.
Right.
And that led to the Texas oil boom and the huge amounts of money pouring into this region. It's pretty clear, though, that despite that, money has not been flowing into this region for the infrastructure, for the climate change effects that we knew were inevitable because of the oil and gas industry's activities on this coastline, even as those oil and gas industries were covering up what they knew about climate change in the 70s. I have to go on about this. Ali, you're an Al Jazeera guy. We get to the point on Al Jazeera.
Yep.
So that is very striking for us here. So much money has been made on this region,
Shihab,
and it hasn't gone into the infrastructure to deal with the climate change that was inevitable because of the industry.
Hold that thought for 1 second, because on the screen we've got a live helicopter rescue.
You can't make the connection between the oil and gas industry and climate change much clearer. And you know, you were talking to someone in Port Arthur. We understand the largest crude oil refinery in the United States in Port Arthur is shutting down. That might sound very prudent, but what we know from experience is when you shut down these refineries, there's a huge amount of toxic gas that's released. So we've got to watch out for all that. And in the past, oil and gas companies have just got away with covertly just like losing a lot of toxic waste in emergencies like this. But this is, I mean, it's not rocket science. I mean, this has been warned about for years by climate scientists. ProPublica had a piece just last year warning of something like this was bound to happen in the Houston area at the very least. And yet this is all coming as a surprise, and there just aren't the preparations for it. And yet so much money has been generated here. The mayor yesterday talking about how she spent $5 million on roadways for drainage. Well, it wasn't enough. And yet there is more money here, and Texas politicians clearly have a lot to answer for because they're the ones.
I think we may have just lost Shihab's line there. We're looking at another rescue in...
Whoops. They kind of lost his line. Maybe. Now, look, he was dropping a ton of knowledge. And, again, I'm not blaming Ali Velshi, especially because he had to go to a live rescue that happened in the middle of the video. And we kind of cut that part out. To get to the rest of it. It's a long clip, so check it out. But very interesting, though. Very interesting timing. Look, this could have been the fact, very, very simple, that they're broadcasting from the middle of a storm. And sometimes you have connection issues. That happens. But there are some people out there that are thinking that it maybe is a little bit more suspicious. Now, I don't know. I can't tell you for certain what it is. But I do have to say, the suspicious angle, there might be a little bit of merit to that position. Knowing the direction that MSNBC has taken as of late, for example, bringing on more right-wingers, so they can no longer appear to be a liberal network, I don't know. The idea of them cutting their feed might not be too outlandish. Don't know. Especially when, again, he starts going after the oil companies in Texas and the Texas politicians. Now, remember, on TV, it's really, really bad form to politicize a tragedy. I mean, especially that's what right-wingers love to say. Oh, don't politicize this. It's so bad. Well, look, the fact is, Harvey was a once in a 1,000-year storm. It was so incredibly strong. Now, why was it so strong? Well, it turns out climate change might have something to do with that. See, that's kind of what climate change does. It helps storms become that much stronger due to the warming of the oceans. Warmer oceans feed into the strength of hurricanes. And so that makes for a stronger storm. And unfortunately for them, it makes this into a more political issue because climate change is a political issue. And to be honest, I hate calling it that because I hate the fact that it is a political issue, because honestly, it shouldn't be regarded as a political issue. This should be a global responsibility that we need to be doing something about, lest Harvey type superstorms become the norm or even start to get worse. So, but at MSNBC, like I said, we've had a rightward corporate shift. Now, I'm assuming that because of that shift, there are certain people there that might not want to make this storm political because of their sponsors, their corporate sponsors and their donors. Again, they're owned by Comcast, big corporation, and they have holdings, of course, in oil and gas. So, now look, these companies, they exist only to make profit, as we know, and they advertise on MSNBC and different news channels. So I think MSNBC might be trying to minimize blame on the oil and gas industry. And that's my personal feeling about this. Now, to be fair, and not to be super conspiratorial, but look, you have Chris Hayes, Rachel Maddow, and some of the others that do cover climate change on MSNBC. And they cover climate change quite a bit. However, I think the reason that they're still on MSNBC is because they happen to go after Donald Trump quite a bit, and they're doing very, very well in the ratings for doing so. But, as I said, they do cover climate change, and Hayes gets a lot of credit for doing what he's doing on climate change. So, and he talks about it quite a bit. But as far as the network goes as a whole, well, they have replaced a lot of their progressive hosts. They fired them and put on a lot of right-wingers. And look, those right-wingers, of course, are perfectly compatible with their donors. And they have a vested interest in keeping those sponsors very happy. So, now, does that mean definitively that they cut this feed because of that? I don't know. But it does make the case a little bit more likely. Hey everybody, thanks for watching this video. If you want to see more like this, please hit the subscribe button below. And if you want to support truly independent progressive media, please consider becoming a patron at patreon.com/TYTNation.